Father's Day, for his birthday, for any type of holidays, guess where I have to visit my son?
Justin Wayne Bibles would have turned 34 years old in July, but he was gunned down in a Waco Red Lobster parking lot in May of last year. His suspected killer isn't facing charges. Tonight, his mother sits down for her first interview seeking justice for Justin.
His star was rising in the hip-hop scene.
Mama, give me 2 years, just 2 years, and you won't ever have to work again, you know. He was on his way. He was definitely on his way.
Justin Wayne Bibles wanted the words he wrote to take his family farther.
It was way up and it was way out, and it was to keep his children from having to want. That was his thing.
Zeta Bridgewater misses her only son.
It's hard to lose a child. It's hard to lose a child. But I know my son, and I wouldn't have wanted to lay like that, you know. So I had already made up my mind. If it came to that, I knew what I was going to do. But God was gracious, and I didn't have to make that decision. Didn't have to make a decision.
Just after 11 a.m. on May 1st, 2018, witnesses report a shooting behind the Red Lobster near the Richland Mall in Waco.
And then as officers arrived, we were able to determine that the victim inside the red car did suffer a gunshot wound.
I was at work. It was just, I can't even tell you how I made it to the hospital, because I know I don't remember stopping at red lights. So that was, yeah, and I'm still praying all the way out there, you know, that he was going to be okay. When I got to the hospital, I knew it was serious. You know, being a nurse for as many years as I have, you can kind of pick up on some things that say it, you know. When I walked in the hospital, the nurse asked me, can you describe him to me? And I was like, and in my mind, I was totally blank on how to describe my son. And I was like, I can tell you one thing. He's got my name tattooed over his heart. And she asked me, what was that? And I told her, and they took me right on up. And all I could think to do was, it was time to pray. Because that was my baby laying there. That was my baby, and all I could do was pray. I couldn't touch my child. I couldn't touch him, you know. I couldn't kiss him. All I could do was just stand back and hold my hand, you know, because of possible evidence. So I couldn't touch him. All I could do is stand back and say goodbye, you know. And he was just laying there. Just laying there. I talked to him, and I believe he heard me, you know, to a point. But because I felt like his spirit was already in the room, so he heard me. He was already gone. I mean, that's all I could think of was how, who, you know, and those two things kept coming to my mind.
Days later, Waco police arrested Kenneth James Smith. But in December of 2018, a grand jury did not indict him for the killing, citing lack of evidence. I spoke to a detective on the case who declined an on-camera interview, but she says Smith is still their suspect.
They just want to see me lose. They don't want to see me win.
I honestly believe that if this had happened in a bigger city, in another city, Austin, Houston, Dallas, this case would have been solved. My son was not perfect. He was perfect to me, but I feel like they pulled his record, the police department, pulled his record, and they're like, oh, that's one less we've got to worry about. Do I feel like that? I sure do. They're going to keep it out on the desk, and out on the desk, and out on the desk, and keep it open until all of a sudden it's cold. And then they're gonna file it back into the cold cases. This is where I live. I would like to know, or like to feel like my life or my son's life means as much as the next person, the next white person,
As my life.
as your life. You know, I don't believe it does. Not in Waco, I don't.
There's just too many questions for you
Too
to
many
stop
questions.
pushing for
Too many
answers.
questions. Too many questions.
The question of where is Kenneth James Smith has an answer. He's in the McLennan County Jail on a number of unrelated charges. Zeta says that isn't justice for Justin or his 4 children.
That's not the justice I want. You know, I want to look that man straight in his eyes. And I want him to know the pain that he's got. I don't get it. And then you're a coward. You're a coward. Kenny Smith, you're a coward. Yes, he is. But I want justice and I want it right. I'd love to see justice before I'm laying down next to my son.
Waco police are urging witnesses to come forward with information. So far, no motive or connection between Smith and Bibles has been made. The getaway driver hasn't been arrested. We requested an interview with Smith in jail, but the McLennan County Jail says it does not allow inmate interviews.